6,400. That's how many seconds you have in a single day. 24 hours. Time that seems to fly by in the blink of an eye, never to be recaptured. Each day, you're overcoming obstacles and conquering challenges. Sometimes you want to kick it up a notch, and you could use a little extra help. Finally, there's a solution, a way to power the untapped potential that already exists in your body and mind. Presenting ASEA's Cell Performance, 3 innovative products powered by Redox that specifically target your energy, your mind, and your mood. 3 products to help you take on your next big challenge and achieve more than ever before. Revving up your body to help you amplify every hour, minute, and second of your day. Redox Energy ignites sustained physical and mental energy by helping your cells reach redox balance. Redox Mind gives your brain a boost for sustained cognitive performance so you can think more clearly and focus more easily. Redox Mood helps you find peace of mind by supporting a feeling of calmness and uplifting your mood. Make your everyday moments count while you maximize every second. Get sustained energy, enhance your brain power, and lead a life of vitality and significance, the life you deserve. ASEA's Cell Performance, powered by Redox. Feel the difference.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new edition of Cosmic Insight. I'm your co-creator, Hillis, Pugh, along with
Rebecka, Gregory here. Welcome, everyone, for joining us for another edition of Cosmic Insight. And today we have a fabulous guest that has decided to join us today to express his journey and this beautiful insight he's bringing to the world to help others move into saying yes of the yes of them to create the abundance that everyone deserves in this world. So tell us a little about who our guest is, Hillis.
I am just as excited as you are, Rebecka, and this is just the amazing energy that this person brings to the passion of his work, the purpose of what he does. And our guest today is Rydall, part of a new generation of spiritual visionaries and thought leaders. He is the #1 best-selling author of Emergence, 7 Steps for a Radical Life Change, which reveals the revolutionary process of the law of emergence, showing people how to tap into their pattern of perfection in any area of their life and create the right conditions for it to unfold. And the Abundance Project, 40 Days to More Wealth, Health, and Love and Happiness, where he lays out this time-tested system for activating the abundance principle, which sets you free from the belief that the outer conditions determine your life and shows you how to generate everything you need. And so, Derek, it's such an honor to have you on the show with us today. So welcome, my friend, and soon to possibly great connection in all things and all joys and all happiness and just creation, because that's what we're doing. We're creating life and breathing new life into all things in this moment.
Yes, indeed. Great to be here. It's an honor and a pleasure. Truly.
Yes. And so, Derek,
talk about how I have all this great energy in the introduction. So I was going to start the interview when you brought me on, like.
That would have been awesome.
I didn't go for it, darn, I had to commit to it.
Yeah, exactly. And so, one of the things that, as you are one of the new generation of thought leaders, and one of the things that I know that are in the front of everybody's mind is, what exactly is this state of emergence that you teach and talk about? Because I want people to truly get an understanding of what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess it's more important to understand it now than ever, as we live in a world that is, so tumultuous, and there are so many things that are crumbling and changing faster than we can keep up. changing faster than our actual evolutionary biology is adapted for. I mean, there's so many things going on. But for me, where it started was, many years ago, like so many people, I was on a journey of self-help or self-improvement.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing all the right things and found myself increasingly desperate, increasingly struggling to make things happen and to attract things and all of that. And I ended up getting so frustrated by the process of self-improvement that I became addicted to drugs and alcohol. And then I almost died of an overdose. And then, I remember lying in the hospital with the IV snaking out of my arm when I regained consciousness, and the doctor saying, you're lucky to be alive. And I thought, how in the world did all of my self-improvement get me there?
Yeah.
And I kind of regained my, confidence and dug in again and just thought, I just need to work harder or work smarter or attract more powerfully or something. And I ended up, getting some momentum for a while, but then very quickly I was back in the same kind of state of anxiety and stress. And I was actually doing a movie as an actor, and you would think that would be a wonderful celebration. Excuse me. But I remember being so full of anxiety and stress and just wanting to get away from it all. I literally prayed to get away from everything in the world. And I went diving in a coral reef. You may know this if you read Emergence.
Mhm.
And I got lost and stuck in this coral reef.
Mhm.
And I was stuck in this area where it was like an underwater booby trap tomb out of an Indiana Jones movie. There was giant spiked coral all beneath me, just razor sharp rows of spiked coral, fire coral all along the wall. So I couldn't touch any wall. And if I breathed too deeply, I would have been skewered by this coral. And so I couldn't swim down to try to get out. I didn't know where the exit was. And it was getting dark and nobody knew where I was. And I was literally stuck there. And I had to begin to breathe in really short breaths and just use my fingers just to keep the right water level so I didn't fall on top of these spiked coral and get skewered. And there was a moment in that experience where I knew I wasn't going to make it. It's hard to understand. It's like, it wasn't like I got past, please, if there's any way I can get out of this, God, I promise I'll go to church on Sunday. And the universe was not making a deal that day. And at a certain point, I realized I'm done. I got nothing left in me. There's nothing more to do. Sand sharks are swimming beneath me. It's getting dark. Nobody knows I'm here. I'm exhausted. I can't go on. And all that was left was real surrender. And in this act of totally letting go, there was a flash of light. And I saw in a flash the Derek I've been trying to fix, change, heal, improve was a figment of my imagination. He was an amalgamation of parental fantasies and peer pressure and societal conditionings and what you should and shouldn't do and all of this ball of wax. And nothing I could ever do would ever make him enough. Because he was a figment. But right behind him or around him, there was another self. And this self was already whole. So it actually didn't need any improvement. It couldn't be improved. And it wasn't broken. So it certainly didn't need to be fixed. It was an already whole state of being. Now, all this was in a flash, and I didn't make sense of it in the moment. But in the next moment, I was standing outside this place I'd been trapped on this one little piece of coral, was the only piece of coral protruding out. And I couldn't see it from where I was, so I don't even know how I got there. But I was looking into this maze of coral, and I realized it was a metaphor for my life, that I've been swimming through this maze, following all these brightly colored things, and really was trying to get lost from the world. And I was gasping for air, and I was nearly drowning. That was literally the life I'd been living, in this endless pursuit to fix, change, heal, improve, control, manipulate, be something, achieve something. That was really a metaphor. And it's something broke in me. Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall. And I turned and I was able to swim out of the coral reef from that ledge and get out. And everything was shimmering. Everything had this luminosity to it. And I didn't realize that the guy that swam in was not the guy that swam out. but I knew something had changed. And I ended up pulling out of the world of entertainment, pulling out of the world at all completely, and started to try to become a monk. That did not go well. I tried to fast and, and be silent. And like a week into this monk experience where I was telling the monk, I want to be a monk now. I've had an experience. And he's like, we'll see. And a week into it, I'm going crazy and I'm starving. And I break into the monk's kitchen to steal food out of his refrigerator and like some little feral creature out of the forest. And then just run back to my little cell and, eating like lettuce and cheese and probably bird food. And I got violently sick and had an out-of-body experience, first I'd ever had, and was just terrorized. And I pretty much ran screaming out of the monastery. But I ended up cloistering myself in my apartment and going on this journey. And what I saw was that just like in an acorn, the oak already exists. Mm-hmm. And just like in an apple seed, the apple tree already exists, and also orchards of apple trees, and also apple pie. It's all there in the seed. There's a blueprint. Now, the actual oak tree isn't in the seed. The pattern of it is, and the oak tree, the being of the oak tree is in the field of the seed. So there's not just there's the physical representation, but like the tip of an iceberg, there's a quantum field that it's being held in. And in that field, the whole life and intelligence of the oak exists. It's invisible, just like right now our favorite music is playing, but we can't hear it because we're not currently tuned into the frequency where the music is playing. But if we took our radio or whatever and tuned into that frequency, that song would become manifest, or that station would become manifest. We'd have a manifestation. And so I'm here all weekend, folks. And so that's the truth about everything. The music, the reality, the beingness, the life of that tree is right there in the field of the seed. And I saw all of this, and I saw that just as nature then conspires to create the condition that is a match for that seed pattern, and therefore causes the emergence of the oak. Likewise, if we will allow it and we will come into alignment with it, life or nature is here to conspire to create the conditions that are congruent with the seed of our own being, right? And so that's the truth. And now the big distinction is we've been conditioned that we came here as empty shells. Mm-hmm. And we got to fill ourselves up. Maybe we have some karma, but other than that, we got to fill ourselves, right? Or we have to go make something happen. It's not already happening, right? And if you look at the rest of nature, or look at a good gardener or farmer, if they ever thought they had to make a seed happen, you would have no harvest, right? Yeah. They know they have to make it welcome. They have to create the welcoming conditions for everything. And as they create the welcoming conditions, that was inherent emerges. And so that was the big, and we can obviously unpack that more, but that was the big revelation for me. And then I went back and I reread many of the great mystical texts, the Bible, Jesus teachings, which I used to just throw across the room and use as a doorstop. And suddenly I was like, dude, I totally get what you're saying now. And Buddha and, Bhagavad Gita and Lao Tzu and all these different things. And I was like, yep. It's all saying essentially the same thing. I get it. It's all within us. It's not outside of us. The world has nothing to give us but a mirror or a canvas or a stage for our play. Yeah. All within us. And we have to learn how to come into integrity with the seed of being planted in the soil of our soul. And when we do, it emerges, it blossoms.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Derek. And I just want to take this time and honor the mirror that you're being for me right now, because last night I was sitting in meditation, prior to me going to sleep. And this word came up, and it's very odd that it came up because this word that I'm about to express usually doesn't come up in my vernacular too often. So I was like, there's a reason why this is coming up. And as I was sitting in this, looking, feeling, and the word broke and came up. And I'm like, oh, yes, broken. I'm like, what do you mean broken? I'm not broken. Nothing needs to be fixed. It's like, no, but there's something that's not in alignment. Something's not coming together. And so as I'm sitting in this, I'm like, just, I don't want to say dozing off, but going deeper and deeper and deeper. And I'm like, okay, there's something is off. And you being on here today is no accident. We know this. There's no coincidence in the story that you told of your own personal emergence.
Yes.
And as we are all on this planet, as you so eloquently put earlier, that we are all going through our own personal emergence. So right now, I guess since we're in this space of people having their own emergence, is there just one thing that you would suggest someone to do to guide them to their own emergence?
Well, the simplest thing is to get the book Emergence.
Yes,
because I definitely outline it all in there, and I'm not just trying to plug it. It's just that it's very, very specific, and it's helped hundreds of thousands of people to do it. But I would say, first of all, I want to respond to what you just said, because one of the stages in the emergence or emergineering process, which is about engineering your emergence, is embrace what appears broken.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm really glad you brought that up. And it's important on a couple levels, because on one hand, the spiritual truth is that we are whole and complete and unique, infinite, individualized expressions of life and love, truth and beauty. Call it God, call it spirit, call it higher power, call it Uncle Joe. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you recognize that the truth about us is absolute perfection. But because its nature is infinite, it's not in time and space. And then it unfolds in time on the canvas of time and space.
Mhm.
It doesn't unfold what appears to be perfectly. And just like you can take a picture, what I call it is there's perfection, and then there's our perception of the perfection, and it's a relative perception, and then it creates a relative projection, and then we put protection around it. Kind of like taking a picture of the Grand Canyon or anything, and you take a picture, you don't get the whole Grand Canyon. You don't even get even a grain of sand compared to what's there if you zoom in and zoom over here. I mean, there's so much. And it may not even be a perfectly clear picture. And then you end up putting a frame around it and you hang it on the wall and you say, that's the Grand Canyon. It's not the Grand Canyon. It's a very relative, very, very narrow perception of something that's real. And so as that's unfolding and we're unfolding, there's going to be a lot of misperceptions that become misapprehensions and habits and forms, thought forms, emotional forms, physical forms. And so it's important, as people that are truly on the path to awakening and growing and evolving, we're not being airy-fairy. We don't just look at, me, eating yet another pint of Haagen-Dazs when I just finished the other one and say, but that's all part of the perfection. Or we don't just, look at the fact that I say I want to write this book, but I keep not writing it and go, oh, that's all part of the perfection. And so we go, there's something out of alignment, and we don't judge it in a sense of right or wrong, good or bad, but we absolutely have to have that discernment to recognize where, as you said, something's out of alignment, and learn how to embrace those parts of us that appear broken. And one of the things that I get into in the emergence process is a thing called shadow work, which is understanding that there isn't any extra or missing pieces, but there are a lot of these limited perceptions of things. So like with the way we grew up, we might have a map that says, it's not okay to be selfish. It's not okay to want what I want or to go for what I need. And so it gets labeled selfish. it has a charge of guilt or shame. Or when I was in my innocence, I was so big and crazy and it was authentic, but it got labeled as too much.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe I was trying really hard to do the thing right and dad kept saying I was getting it wrong. And so I got labeled as not enough or inadequate. And all I was doing in all of those situations was really expressing an authentic quality of me. The live, the wildness, the craziness, the student, the, whatever the case may be, the selfish, which is really honoring myself. And because of those labels, we cut ourselves off from those places. We repress those parts of ourselves. And then we create compensatory. We try to become the nice guy, the good girl, the take care of everybody else's needs so I don't have to look at my own. Don't be too much, fit in, conform, or try to be more because you're not enough. And so it's important that we recognize in the perfection of it all, we don't just think it's all about focusing on the light and everything that's good and right, but that we learn how to meet and embrace all of the seeming broken, shadowy, dark, the things we don't like, the things we are triggered in others. Because if you embrace them, you discover they're not an enemy, they're an ally.
Mm-hmm.
And you discover that they carry gifts and wisdom and genius, the sadness, the guilt, the pain, the shame. It's all God, it's all divine, but not in an airy-fairy way, in like an airy, gritty way. Like you meet it and you hold it and you hear it and it reveals its gifts, and the devil is transformed back into an angel within you. And we're in a process right now where we're looking at the world and there's so much polarization, so much us and them. There's so much, this is the right way, that's the wrong way. And then we're just adding fuel to that. A lot of really progressive, spiritual minded people are doubling down on the polarizations, and you got to be more spiritual, or you got to not. And so our opportunity is to recognize we're not really in the world. The whole world is in us. And we have to meet all those places within us that feel broken, that feel angry, sad, enraged, sick, ugly, stupid, unworthy. And also wherever we see it in the world and say, that's bad, that's wrong. If we can love those enemies fully and completely within us, we will not only unlock capacities beyond our wildest dreams of abundance, of creativity, of wisdom, but life will then put you in ever greater positions because you are the light of the world now. And you will meet all of those things. You'll be like a cosmic bug zapper. As those things hit you, they'll be like, bzz, 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 because you're just seeing more and more through the eyes of love and through the eyes of wisdom. I know that wasn't exactly the question you asked, but
no, but it was perfect. It's what was needed. So thank you.
Especially now. There's no way to end suffering in our lives and in the world by trying to be right or making somebody wrong. We have to end it by meeting it with love and forgiveness and understanding and gain the wisdom. I know you wanted to say something, Rebecka.
Oh, I was just sitting here. I was just kind of laughing at myself. First of all, talking about I loved your story. It was just so profound that, what had happened to you and your experience of your emergence and where you are. It just really touched me. But in saying that, I was kind of laughing when you said the Bible. And then I started reading your books and I was like, oh, this is kind of like my Bible, because I've just been in this place, as I said before, I was telling you before the show, of like moving forward and stepping into that new part of me and needing to ask you for the information to come to me. And like your book just had all the information. I'm reading like going, oh my gosh. And then I was laughing again while you're talking, because when I was reading, some of the questions I had, you just answered. So I was like, oh, we thought ahead. That's why I kind of like talking about full circle and everything moves together, and the roots and everything. So I just found that interesting. But I really wanted to, and what you're talking about now, what you're bringing to the world right now, and you have emerged, is just so profound right now, is so required in the world right now, of getting away. What I was hearing is it's kind of like looking at life at the lies we tell ourselves and stepping into the truth of who we truly are, and that switching that. But I felt the last thing you said was around love and forgiveness. And I was reading in your book, The Levels of Forgiveness. And I'd really like you to open up to that right now, just because that's so important to understand the levels of forgiveness from different points of view, so we can that's a huge thing right now, I feel, in the world, is opening that space of forgiveness so we can step into that place of love.
Absolutely. And also forgiveness. Behind every story of unforgiveness, there's debt. Or I
Yes.
should say, behind every experience of debt, there's a story of unforgiveness.
Mhm.
Because when you are not forgiving, you are forgetting, fortaking, for withholding, but you're not forgiving. And giving, in the energy of the law of circulation, is the key to abundance. And maybe we'll go into that more. But forgiveness is first and foremost for you, right? As you know, the old saying, not forgiving somebody is like, or holding a grudge is like drinking poison and thinking it's going to hurt them. And so, because whenever you're not forgiving somebody, or including yourself, what you're really doing is you're withholding something, right? You don't want the best for them, you want the worst for them. They owe you something. And if you have a bunch of IOUs and you owe me, that's called debt again.
Mhm.
And so you're withholding. And the emergence principle understands that whatever's missing is what we're not giving.
Mm.
And I don't just mean giving to the world, right? There's 7 gifts in the Abundance Project,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And there's giving out, giving away, giving up, giving in, giving thanks, giving to yourself, forgiving. So there's a lot of ways that we open the channels of our circulation. But circulation is the master key. Wherever there's circulation, that means there's a circuit.
Mhm.
That means there's a polarity that is connected. So positive and negative are not separate. They're one. That creates a circuit. Masculine and feminine as one, that makes a circuit.
Mhm.
Selfish and selfless, that creates a circuit. If they're integrated, you breathe in. I'm sorry, you breathe in. That's how you breathe in. You go that way. You breathe in, you breathe out, you receive. That's a circuit. If you break that circuit and you're only going to breathe in, nope, you're not getting any more of my carbon dioxide, then you die, right? And so, and the heart pumps and it's circulating. So everything circulates. If there's a circuit and if it's circulating, there's more life, there's more abundance of whatever the quality is. So those 7 channels allow you to circulate fully life. And they also begin to show you where you have broken circuits. And one of the common broken circuits, 2 of the biggest ones, are giving to ourselves. A lot of heart-centered, spiritually minded people struggle with that one,
Mhm.
right? To really, truly nourish and nurture and love and value and respect themselves. And the second one is forgiveness. And there's a lot of reasons why, but for the truncated version, the highest level of forgiveness is ultimately the realization that nothing has been hurt, nothing has been harmed, nothing has been broken, nothing has been lost. It's an understanding, like I was an actor and I would do a play and I would be, I was a method actor, so I played that play full out. So
Mhm.
that person betrayed me. In my experience, I was betrayed and I was, screaming or crying or whatever the experience was. And it was as real can be, except there was a little part of me that knew it was a play. But in the scene, it was full out carnage. And then afterwards, we would go laugh about it and have a drink, whatever, and talk about what an amazing scene that was. But I knew it was just a play, right?
Mhm.
As Shakespeare says, all the world's a stage and men and women are but players upon it.
Mhm.
That's a process. So we don't start there, but that's ultimately where we get to. When Jesus said, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do," what he knew was that everybody is innocent, but there are these collective patterns, these beliefs based on separation, limitation, the belief that there's multiple powers, that there's all these separate things. We've developed a race consciousness or collective consciousness
Mhm.
of beliefs of lack and limitation and separation. Like it's a bunch of code. It's like the system software of humanity. And their minds are like little computers or little portals of whatever, nodes within the information highway. And we adapt or adopt these patterns unconsciously, right?
Yes.
And we're born into a family of them. We're born into a culture of them. We're born into a gender of them. Or if we're a certain gender or color or culture or religion, by definition, we will be getting a certain piece of that operating code, and it's bad code, or it's old code,
Mhm.
like, whatever, snow leopard, whatever the different ones are of Mac. I can't keep up with them.
Yeah.
But it's like, and you try to run applications and they don't work. And, but when your computer's spinning wheel of death and all this, the code is messing up. If you're somewhat sane, you don't go, bad computer, I hate you, and throw it out the window. You recognize there's a problem with the software. And so that's what Jesus meant when he said, forgive them, for they know not what they do. They're being run and have been hooked. I'll tell you a story. I tell this analogy. A group of fish are swimming along, and this one guy is a real jerk. And there's nothing they can do. He's cutting in front of everybody. He's elbowing people. He's just a bad fish. And they try to reason with him. They pray for him. They lay hands upon him. They do everything, and nothing works. He's still a complete jerk. And they finally just give up on him. The whole school swims away, only to reveal he's been caught on a hook. And so he was flailing. He was out of his mind. He was hooked. And so we're all hooked.
Mhm.
And if you can understand that, if you can just get the reality, if you can just feel the truth of that, you're already halfway there. But then it's like a commitment, like more than I want to fix or change, heal, or manipulate, or condemn, or blame anybody, including myself. I want to know the truth that makes me free, and I want to know the truth about them. I want to see with the eyes of love. I want to see through the eyes of truth. That commitment doesn't mean you'll see it right away, but that interest, that intention, as you're thinking about that person, and as you're meeting the parts of you that are upset, that are angry, that feel rejected, abandoned, lied, cheated, whatever the issue is, all of that's legitimate. You get to feel all of that. But then so don't deny it. Don't be Pollyanna and just be like, love, love, love. Like, you have to be with the feelings, but your desire is to know the truth that makes you free. I want to be free. I want to be in love, and I want to be love. And I want my life and my light and my love to shine unconditionally. Why? Because whatever's missing is what I'm not giving. And so if I want more love and life and light and truth in my life, I have to let more love and light and life and truth shine from me, right? Imagine if the sun shut down a beam every time somebody cursed the sun. The sun would go on. And so the sun doesn't go, well, you don't like me? Fine, watch this. Bloop. Oh, you're going to close your shades on me? Watch this. Bloop. And pretty soon the sun goes dark. That hurts the sun, not to mention everybody else. Yeah. So God shines his light on the saint and the sinner. The rain falls on the just and the unjust. And be ye perfect. That's our command, is to be like God, or to be like life, or to be like love, which is and it's not, again, start from a selfish place. It's not about the other person. It's because whatever you hold back gets held back from you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be the most loving, forgiving, generous, inspired, creative. I'm going to give it to myself. I'm going to fill myself up. I'm going to bless everybody. There is nothing you can do to stop me from loving you.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I'm going to have lunch with you. It doesn't mean I'm going to visit you again, right? And if we have to put somebody in jail because they're a danger to themselves or others, then we do. But even if we close the door of the cell, we do not have to close the door of our heart.
Yeah.
And if you want more prisoners and bigger jails, just keep closing your heart and watch what happens.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
If you want to heal people, and you want to be free, and you want to be in joy, and you want to be a beneficial presence to your family, to your community, to your work, and to the world, then pray to be an instrument of unconditional love and forgiveness. And that prayer I just said, and watch what happens. And what's not forgiveness, because just to give a little tip of the other side of the scale is, well, you did me wrong and you did bad and you're a jerk, but I forgive you. You know, like, you know,
Yeah, in a
because
spiteful way.
yeah, it's spiteful, or it's righteous, or it's pious, or, you know, you're an evil sinner, but, you know, God will take care of you, so I forgive you. You know, these kinds of have nothing to do with forgiveness. Although I will say, if that's where you have to start there. Get it going. But ultimately you want to move towards forgive them, for they know not what they do. And guess what? Forgive you as well, for you know not. If you're acting out or not doing what you want, be kind and compassionate first with yourself, because you are doing your best.
Yeah. And so, you know, Derek, when you was expressing this story, one of the things that I received visually was the energy of the torus, you know, coming out from the heart, expanded out into the auric field, expanded out. And just so everyone has a visual, especially when you spoke of the energy of circulation. And if you don't know what the torus is by watching our show, go look it up. As we talk about this stuff all the time. But what comes to me is that as this energy is being emitted and emerging from the body, if you will, and going out to the auric field, and there are these gaps in the field where it's not as strong, or the gaps are not as unified. And so in order to create this alignment or unification, it sounds like the people have to step into the next space of accepting and appreciating themselves where they are, and not try to be something else or create the illusion of something else that they're not. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, you have to start by with what is. You have to start with where you really are, right? Like if you're in like a mall and you are trying to find the Apple store, the only way you got one of those signs and it says you are here, the only way to get to where you want to go is to know where you are. So you have to start by appreciating where you are, by honoring where you are, see the thing as it really is, not as you think it should be or hope it will be. But ultimately, then you have to see through it to the deeper potential, right? To the deeper possibility. But if you try to skip over where you are, and we do it for a variety of reasons, it's like because sometimes it's just too painful to feel where we really are. And that's part of that's an evolutionary problem, because our emotional, is it the limbic system or whatever, it evolved, you know, relatively recently, and our brain doesn't actually know the difference between emotional pain and physical pain, and so it's very averse to that emotional pain. It feels like it's danger, right? And so we will do all manner of things to avoid feeling, basically. And I'll even break it down even more basic. There's only two things all 7+ billion people are doing, no matter what it looks like. We are either going for a better feeling or trying to avoid a bad feeling or a painful feeling. And that's it. All that you see is an attempt to have a greater feeling or to avoid a lesser feeling. Who's this?
It's Cosmo.
No, that's
No.
Finn.
Oh, that's Finn. Oh, yeah, I see the
We had a
brown.
husky concert going on here, so I had myself on mute.
So beautiful, so beautiful. So we have to get it. So if we want to master one of the master principles or practices, it's learning how to be with all of our feelings and hold them, and then listen to their message. And hello, there's my wife back there.
I love this.
We just have families coming in. Bring them all in. It's all
good day.
So the ability to be with your feelings is what allows you to transmute that feeling. And it actually, if you can witness and hold whatever your thoughts, your feelings are, naturally they'll start to break down and transmute, and you'll discover, the deeper feelings, and deeper, and get all the way down to the roots. And then that's another way also of dissolving karma, is by being able to mindfully observe and witness whatever's coming up without reaction. It's why, Jesus said, judge not by appearances, resist not evil. And Buddha talked about craving and aversion, and being able to mindfully observe those things. So the more we can learn just to be with where we are and what we're feeling without trying to do anything about it initially, the more we regain dominion over the one and only thing we have control over, and that is our attention. That's the only thing we have control over, is where we place our attention. Everything else happens as a byproduct of attention. Where attention goes, energy flows. And so our ability to have dominion again over our attention is one of the master tools. And then just observing, beholding God unfolding, beholding life unfolding, right? And then we notice that underneath the painful feelings, as they transmute, begins to bubble up little moments of bliss, little insights, flashes of awareness, of truth. It's always broadcasting the truth, the love, the light. It's right where we are, just like we talked about with the music. It's broadcasting 24/7, the, KGOD, KRICH, it's broadcasting. And there's a lot of static on the line, right? Because we're tuned into a lot of other stations. KLACK, Killjoy instead of Kjoy, KLAC instead of Krich. And so we learn to tune in by what we're focused on, by what we're interested in. And then we learn to hold our space in this expanded place by reclaiming dominion over our attention. And then this sort of alchemy starts to happen within us naturally through intention and attention, and through the ability to hold dominion. Those are like 3 master skills. And it doesn't mean that we're going to do it perfectly. And it doesn't mean that we just let stuff happen and go crazy. We still have to exercise our stewardship. We still have to do things that sometimes you just got to do what you got to do and do the best you can. And then as soon as you can, become still again. And it's a process of loving and accepting what is, but asking the question, what's the truth? Who am I really? What am I really made of? What am I really made for? Open my eyes, kind of the prayer I said earlier. While we're doing our best, bumbling and stumbling through, that will allow us to have greater and greater awareness. And I'll say one final thing about that. It really does come down to, what are you truly interested in?
Yeah.
We say we want, like, for example, we say we want more abundance or more wealth, let's just say. And that's okay. That's fine. That's a structure in our life that we should stabilize so it doesn't take us out of the game. But if you look at the person that says that's not creating that, and you look at their bank account, their credit card, their calendar, and their conversations, what you'll see is that that's not actually what they value. You'll have a great revelation. If you do this for yourself, you'll see, oh my God, I'm spending all this time over here. I'm spending all this money over there. I'm having all these conversations about this. And there's like this tiny little bit that's like, I come out from all that and think, I want to develop abundance, and then I go back under and I'm focused on lack, and I'm focused on worrying, and I'm focused on gossip, and I'm binging Netflix, and I'm not writing that book I say I want to write, and I have all these, and you start to see, oh, that's not really what I value. Yeah. What I really value is safety or convenience or feeling like I'm part of the know, whatever it is, but it's a really important exercise to do. And if we say we value freedom, like spiritually, we want to truly wake up and be empowered. Again, look at your credit card, calendar, conversations, and bank account, and just look and see, because you want to know what you really value, what your real religion is. Look at your daily routines and actions. And there's no judgment there, but it can be very eye-opening, Because you suddenly, and you'll go, but you don't understand, Derek. I have all these reasons why I have to do all these things, and not all the. I'm not. You can have all the reasons you want. I'm just saying, if this is what you're doing all the time, this is what you value. And if you look underneath it, you're valuing, like I said, mostly it's safety, security, comfort, convenience, not letting go, not losing, not failing. It's a lot of the knots that you're tied up in. And it takes courage to get a new target and then to begin to organize your life around that. It's gonna take something to build those new habits, which I do talk about in Emergence as well. I know that was a lot more again than you asked.
That's awesome. What is your favorite? I know you have these beautiful exercises. What is your favorite exercise that you like to do? That your kind of go-to exercise that you? I know that you had a whole. There's so many of them you had in your books, but I was just wondering if you had one that was your favorite go-to.
I mean, they've evolved for me.
Mhm.
You know, my favorite exercise used to be just a journaling and understanding. Like, I had such a drive to really truly know what I'm made for, what I'm made of and made for. Like, what's my real purpose? What's my real reason? And I would spend hours a day in the bookstore just reading and journaling and, you know, trying to find like looking for that target that suddenly went like dee 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 dee. Like it really, that was one of my favorite activities to do. And you know, and then it brought me into alignment with my thing. So I don't do it as much, although I'm in a whole new level of it right now. But I'd say another of my favorites is it's an activity actually, or it's a tool I have in my free trainings called the VVR, the Visualization, Vibration, Radiation Meditation. and what it is you start with visualization of whatever it is you think you want to create in your life. And that's just the starting point. You know, a lot of people use visualization and try to use it as a tool to make that thing happen. And I don't use it as that. I use it as a way to start to activate the frequency, the feeling tone, the vibration, because our idea of what we want and what we're going for may or may not be accurate, right? It's based on peer pressure and parental fantasies and unconscious agendas and all of that. So, but it's what we know. So we got to start there. But the frequency that it generates for us, when let's say I want to have millions of dollars and a mansion on a hill, and okay, great. And you visualize it and it makes you feel inspired. It makes you feel empowered. It makes you feel expanded. Well, those qualities or vibration, those are true. That is real. Take that to the bank. That is the substance of your life. That is actual substance. So you use your best guess, the visualization, to get to activate a feeling of expandedness, aliveness, excitement, inspiration. And then from there, you breathe into that. And as you exhale, you let it expand and fill every part of your body, every cell of your body. And you fill it until you're just filled with it. And then the next piece is now you give it all away. You radiate it to the world. You bless the whole planet. You imagine the planet in front of you, and you just shine and circulate and want this or better for everybody and every creature and all of creation. May all beings be blessed completely. May all beings be forgiven, be loved, be abundant, be successful, be healthy. And you just radiate that. And what happens is it gets even bigger for you. And that's the law of circulation. You cannot give what you don't have. So you first have to have it. You got to fill yourself up, but then you cannot keep what you don't give. So now you give it away. And as you give it away, you get to be a channel of grace and a channel of good, and it expands you, and you realize the greatest joy is the giving of it away. Yeah. And then the final piece is you get to receive it circulating all back, pressed down and overflowing. And then you can put your hands and just give it all to yourself again. And then that's a complete session for that practice. And that's a very, very powerful practice to get into the flow and get into alignment and create the energetic congruence we talked about before that is a match for the seed of your own soul. And it also gets you into the habit of realizing viscerally that being a giver, being a servant, being a generator, there is no higher job and no greater experience, but not at the expense of filling yourself up. Because again, you can't give what you don't have. If you give from what you don't have, you know, it's like what I say, give from your fruits, not from your roots. Right? We tend to give from our roots, right? So here, have a root, here, have a root, here, have a root. And we wonder why we're not thriving.
Yeah.
But when you give from your fruits, from the overflow, you actually produce another harvest and another harvest and another harvest. And so that's a very, very powerful practice, and people can grab that, or maybe you can include it in the show notes or whatever.
Yeah.
Nice. I love that. To me, it steps into what I like to call the language, learning the language of vibration and how it works.
Absolutely.
Twofold, you know, going back to the visualization part of it, do you feel that people get caught up when they use visualization as a way to open up to bring whatever they want to manifest in the world, as a way of setting limited expectations on what they're going to create?
Absolutely. That's why, you can, because again, I mean, I remember I knew this guy that used all this creative visualization, law of attraction, all that to get a Mercedes. And then he spent the next 3 months trying to pray himself out of the mess he attracted himself into, because, you know, that Mercedes was expensive to keep up and it was in the shop all the time. And, you know, you can never imagine and pray enough of the parameters to know what you're getting into. And so, you know, there's always that thing. I think even Shakti Gawain might have started this way back, creative visualization. This, or maybe it was Louise Hay, this or something better for the highest good of all.
Yeah.
But you can always add that. If you're going to use visualization, just know, be humble enough to know you really don't know. And as you grow in your, really truly grow spiritually, like really get on a path where you're not any longer trying to use God to get more stuff in the world, but you're using everything in the world to awaken more to God or to truth. It's a big flip where you're really not using any of this stuff to get anything anymore. You're using it for the self emergence, for the full blossoming of the soul, for the liberation from all of the limited and false beliefs of our human consciousness. As you're doing that, what unfolds in your life is often, initially and during periods, exactly the opposite of what you want. I mean, crisis, tragedy, breakdowns, you know, crucifixions and before the resurrection kind of thing. And it's not, your ego is like, I don't want that. But a bad day for the ego is often a really good day for the soul. And so if you're doing the work, right, in the valleys of your life, there is a mountaintop. If you are willing to want to know the truth and be liberated and be a light and be in love more than you want to hold on to all the things you think you need, right? So but to start off, just have the visualization and say, you know, this or something better for the highest good of all, just so you don't lock yourself in, and just know that even though you think you want the millions of dollars or the fancy cars or Instagram fame, whatever it might be, and maybe you'll have that, just remain humble enough to know, I of myself and with my limited knowledge and experience can never truly know exactly what's the best outcome. But the feeling tone, that's what I mean, like the joy, the power, the confidence, the self-assurance, the inspiration, the expansion, that is real. And that you can just hold on to and just expand and spread your wings in and splash around in and radiate and fall in love with the invisible qualities of life. And they will clothe themselves in the appropriate form, right? If you stay in gratitude long enough, it will manifest more and more things for you to be grateful for. right?
Indeed.
Beautiful.
That's the key. Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're praying for limitation. Otherwise.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Jared, thank you so much for this presentation, this lesson, the abundance of wisdom that you shared with us today. And I know that you have an event coming up soon. So do you want to share about that with everyone who's watching?
An event? I do have an event. I don't know if this will be airing before an event I'm doing, but I have also the Legendary Purpose thing.
Yes, the Legendary Purpose.
That's a free thing.
Yeah, and it's a training. One of the things we didn't quite get into, but for those of you especially who really want to discover what you're made for, what you're made of, why you're here, and you want to know that you're living your purpose or your destiny or your true life's work, whatever that is, even if you're a parent or you're a teacher, it's not about being on the cover of a magazine. It's just being true. If you're an acorn and you're trying to be an apple tree, you're going to have problems, right? If you're meant to be a bird, a butterfly, but you're just so busy building the best caterpillar life possible, you're going to have problems. And most of us have been conditioned and hypnotized by parental fantasies and peer pressure and societal conditioning to try to be something we're not really, or to try to, we'll try to eke out a little bit of what's true and authentic, but then we'll mostly do what makes us feel safe, secure, loved, not rejected, not risk fail, etc. And the problem with that is, just like nature, if an acorn is determined to be an apple tree, it will get no help from nature. Yeah. And it will eventually become squirrel food. And so if you want to be on your own and suffer and struggle as the prodigal son and daughter, then keep doing what you're doing. But if you want to actually have the support of life, and you want to thrive, and you want to bring forth the fruit and the purpose and the potential of your nature, this training will get you on that path. And it's basically understanding that everything you've been through, that the workshop you've been living is the workshop you're meant to be giving. Whether it's literally a workshop, or it's a business or a book, or just the way you raise your family, the lessons, the core theme, what I call the life code, it's encoded in your life story. And when you understand that, it also allows you to turn the pain and the problems and the challenges you've been through into potential and new power and wisdom and creative genius. So you really can turn your life story into a legendary purpose. And this is not theoretical. I've been doing this with thousands and thousands of people, and I'm giving away this free training to get you started on that path, how to turn your life story into a legendary purpose, so that you can really bring forth what you came here for. You can heal your life story so that you no longer feel a victim of it, but you begin to see how all of life has been conspiring for your highest good. And it really does transform you from the inside out. And then also it shows you how to begin applying that in your everyday life.
Oh, I love that. Thank you.
So I want to turn left for a second, or right, or whichever way you want to. I have this question, and I don't know why, but it keeps on popping up. So I'm just going to ask you, what is your point of view on the word spirituality or spiritual?
Well, I mean, that all depends on how you define it. And that's one of the problems with communication, is you say a word and I agree or disagree, but neither of us really know what our definitions are. And so we're almost never in the same conversation. But for me, spirit or spirituality, or the spirit, spiritual, represents that which is unchanging, that which is real, that which is true. So the spiritual universe is a universe, a reality that is not in time and space, that is not evolving. It's an isness, right? You could say, in a way, mathematics is also spiritual, because nobody invented math. Nobody created math. 2 + 2 = 4. And it equaled 4 even before you knew anything about math. And it didn't start off 2 + 2 = 1, and then it equaled 2, and then it evolved to 3, and now it's 4, and someday it'll equal 5. It's an eternal isness. Same with the scale of music.
Mm-hmm.
And many of the principles of reality, they don't really have a beginning, middle, or end. And the same is true with the quality of love. Love didn't evolve. It wasn't like there was something less than love and then a little bit more, and then it became love, and eventually it's going to become super love. No, it's an infinite isness. And so this infinite reality of harmony or order or being or whatever, again, it defies language, because language is by definition a concept and not the thing itself.
Mm-hmm.
That's spiritual. And so being spiritual isn't, I sit under an inverted pyramid, I burn the right incense, I say the right chant. Those are all tools and trappings to get you in touch with the spiritual. But if you're not using them to get in touch with that which is unchanging, that which the world cannot give you or take away, that which is incorruptible and indestructible, then you're not being spiritual. You're just caught up in all the trappings of New Age stuff. And if you love that, there's nothing wrong with it. My wife loves crystals. It's great. She loves all the cosmic, intergalactic stuff, and it's beautiful and it's fun, but it has nothing to do with spirituality unless and until it's allowing you to touch a realm that is incorruptible and unconditional and changeless, and you know it when you touch it, because it changes you, and you tend to have more love and more compassion and more patience and over time as you keep touching that realm. Jesus called it the kingdom of heaven. Buddha called it nirvana. Lao Tzu called it the Tao. Doesn't, again, matter what we call it, but they're all trying to give language to this realm of perfection that is our true nature. But it's forever unfolding. And it's really easy to get caught up in what's unfolding and go, that's something, and I'm going to hold on to that. And which is why Jesus said, if you try to save it, you'll lose it. But if you're willing to lose it, you'll find it. It's like, you gotta keep letting it go and keep being interested in the thing that doesn't change. Mm-hmm. So that's what spiritual and spiritual living is really about. It's not about you can have all the trappings and have no actual spirituality going on.
Thank you for that. It was checking at me.
Okay. And I'm curious, how does that resonate or land for you? Like, what does that make you think? Like,
it makes it aligns with what I believe as well. And I asked the question too, because I felt what you were saying before of the tangible things like the cards and the crystals and everything. I think people get so caught up in all that, that to me, spirituality is has so much dogma and so many labels attached to it now, that they've lost the essence of the truth of it. So that's kind of why I asked the question, because I do believe in that we open to it is that space of tapping into that essence of us. And so yes, totally resonates with what you said. And I asked that for that reason, that we get to open up for people to not get latched in to all these little tangible things out there, to really focus in the truth of why we're stepping into this world to emerge ourselves to a different level of us.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like anything, something starts off with a pure intention, and then we build an industrial complex around it. And that happened to religion, and that happens to the spiritual New Age movement, and that happens in every industry and area. We end up becoming more focused on serving the forms of the thing, the life form, and we stop serving life itself.
Yes.
And we have to get more committed to no longer trying to save the world or any forms, including ourselves, and instead serve what's emerging. Serve that center of our being where life is flowering constantly. And the more we can do that, living by insight more than eyesight, then, we become Jedis.
Like Yumalicious. Yumaliciousness.
Yumalicious. That's my wife's word. It's yum. Eternal yum.
Awesome. I love it. And Derek, thank you so much for gracing us today with your presence, with your wisdom, and these offerings for our audience, for them to grow in their space. And it's been a great honor. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Derek. Thank you so much for this beautiful, I'm going to say journey today, because it was a journey. It was just a fun, exciting journey. Just so much. And make sure everyone out there, listening to this podcast and opening up to this, get his books, The Emergence, The 7 Steps of Radical Life Change, and The Abundance Project, and step into these teachings, because they are the truth of what's happening in the world right now, that we need to open up to that vibration and live from that space of feeling inside of us to create what we want to create. So thank you for following your path.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say one last little piece, just because I really love how you said that, is, again, the greatest insurance policy for living in a world that is changing so much and so rapidly and so crazily at times is getting more and more anchored in this part of you that never changes. And I don't mean the rigid ideas you have about yourself that you're holding, but this part that Rebecka just so beautifully reflected back. The more you're anchored in that, the more you're drinking from that spring deep within you, the more you will have deep roots. So when the storms come, they don't knock you over. When the droughts come, they don't dry you up. When the fires come, they don't burn you down, because your roots are deep and you're being nourished from a much deeper place. And you'll also have vision and insight that is not coming from the world. When I teach a lot of influencers, that's why the legendary purpose is connected to that. The greatest way to be an influencer in the world or in your family or in anything is to not be influenced by the world.
Exactly.
And to the extent that you are not influenced, meaning you're not reactive, you're not triggered, you're not hooked and being dragged all around by the changings of the world, the more influence you'll have over your world, and the more the spiritual, you'll be put into positions of greater influence and greater impact. So now more than ever, this is really, really an important thing if we want to lay the foundation for our long-term well-being and prosperity and fulfilling our true destiny. So thanks, guys, for letting me share this.
Thank you, Derek. And for everyone who's watching, remember to catch our weekly live tune-ups every Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern, so you can get your weekly tune-up and whatever happens live, because we never know.
And thank you again, Derek. And thank you, all you cosmic explorers out there joining us to listen to this show, and hope it expanded you out. And remember, don't limit yourself, create yourself, be the change in you. Mwah.
Till next time, everyone.
Till next time.